Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we are back for the handicap analysis this week. There's quite a few in it this week, so let's dive straight in. Starting off with Mercia, who has been given a handicap mark of 133 in Ireland. Now, in the UK, she's going to get more than that. That's what the handicapper always seems to do. What will he give her? 135, 136, I reckon. So she'll be right near the top of the weights. Admittedly, they do have another one in Willie de Hoy, who I've highlighted for the Fred Winter as well, suggesting that I would probably fancy Willie de Hoy more than Mercia, but I think Mercia will come here with a good chance. Actually, I think she's progressive. She's just getting the hang of things for Willie Mullins. I think she should have won at the weekend. And yeah, I think that experience could be really key because she's had plenty of runs over in France over hurdles. And we might just find that she's got a little bit more know-how than some of the others in the Fred Winter come Cheltenham, which is a month today it starts. She's very interesting in the Fred Winter. She's not one of my top ones at this stage. I say that, she's probably number 3 behind Lavender Hill Mob, Willie de Hoy, and then Mercia. And you have to respect that race at Naas. It just seems to work for some reason. They seem to run in that and then go and run a really big race in the Fred Winter. Obviously, the Fred Winter, as I've said, is in exactly 1 month today. It is on the Tuesday card. Let's just load that up. As you can see here, it's the 4:40, Tuesday the 11th of March, 1 month to the date that we kick off the Cheltenham Festival. The second horse that caught my eye over in Ireland was a bit of a strange one. It's a 13-year-old. Any Second Now. Any Second Now finished 4th over 3 mile in a 5-runner handicap. In a 5-runner rated chase, sorry, not a handicap. Was he ever expected to really get close in that? Off 310 days off the track, age 13. The 3 that beat him were all 7, all potentially unexposed and probably ahead of their marks in terms of, although they weren't running off handicap marks, they were potentially better than those marks. So you could say that they could in the future be rated higher. And Any Second Now may have just found it tough to beat them anyway. Field Door, who was 3rd, was rated 150. Affordable Fury, who was 2nd, was rated 145, the exact same mark as Any Second Now. And Samajest was rated 137, but clearly better than a 137 rated horse, and probably was a 145 rated horse. Now, with the layoff included as well, Any Second Now's probably ran a good race. And yet the handicapper dropped him £4 for that, down to 141. That does mean he's actually only a pound higher than when he finished 2nd in the Irish National last year behind the very unexposed Intense Raffles. Now, if this was 4 years ago that he was running in this Irish National and he's now a pound higher, you'd be going, yeah, but he's 13. It's not. It was just last year that he ran in that. It was only 2 runs ago that he ran in the Irish National and finished 2nd. That's got to be where they're going. Got to be going for that back for that Irish National as at 13 years old. He did it, he nearly won it as a 12-year-old. Why can't he nearly win it as a 13-year-old? What do you do between now and April? You get another run into him. You maybe drop him down to 2.5 mile. You get him dropped another couple of pound. If he turned up in the Irish National rated 138, I'd be really keen on him. He only won a 14s last year as a 12-to-1, as a 12-year-old. I think he could go off like 10-to-1 sort of thing, even at 13 off 138. Very interesting if they do try and target going back for that Irish National. And you've got to remember, they have done it before with the Grand National. They went back to that race 3 times. He finished 3rd in 2021. He finished 2nd in 2022. And then he pulled up in 2023. But he was running off a mark of 167. He would run in Ireland off 141. So he would be back down to a mark that he could certainly get involved in nationals. And yeah, I'm not discounting Any Second Now winning an Irish National at the ripe old age of 13 if they can get another run into him and get him dropped another couple of pound. One to keep an eye out for. The next horse I want to talk about is another JP horse. No flies on him. Now, we'd obviously highlighted no flies on him a few times before Leopardstown on the 27th of December. Now, on the 27th of December, he was given a very dodgy ride by Mark McDonough, and the stewards actually called him in. And they inquired about the ride. He went off 50s in a good race. They asked why he was given such a poor, gentle ride and then finished, really strongly at the finish. And I'm sure that annoyed connections. And I feel that that's why they came out at Turles in another beginner's chase and got him comfortably well beaten. They made sure he did not get anywhere near the front this time and didn't finish strongly either. Almost to say to the handicapper, look, that was a fluke at Leopardstown. We are not the horse that you think. We are bang average. He's been given a handicap mark now. He has been given a handicap mark of 132. Yeah, I think he's better than that. I really do. Particularly, that's his mark over fences. He is rated 135 over hurdles. I don't think he ever fulfilled his ability over hurdles. I think there's a real obvious race for him as well. It is this one here in, is it March or February? I think it's March. Let's have a look. Yes, it is. On the 2nd of March, there's this Quinbet handicap steeplechase at Leopardstown. It's 2 mile 5, which I think will really suit him. It's also back at Leopardstown. He's had 2 runs at Leopardstown. He won on debut, where he beat DB Cooper, and then his eye-catching third in a beginner's chase was also at Leopardstown. It's got to be where they go with him. Step him up in trip, get him into a handicap, and I would be really confident of a huge run in this race, the Quinbet handicap steeplechase. That's over 2.5 miles. Definitely one that I'll be looking out for. We move on to You Wear It Well, who was very unfortunate to come down at Warwick in a listed mare's hurdle when she was going to win it, wasn't she? Now, normally, when you get horses full, the handicapper reacts and actually puts them up or leaves them alone, particularly if they've fallen at last when she was going to win. The handicapper's taken that form literally in terms of she wasn't that far in front of her rivals at the time, but she was going to win. And he's gone, well, the winner was rated 121, the second was rated 120. We're going to use that bit of form and say, actually, you should be dropped £4. So You Wear It Well has dropped down to a mark of 136 over hurdles. Now, that would encourage me to look at a handicap with her. And I think there's a perfect handicap for her. This one here. The William Hill handicap hurdle at Aintree at the beginning of the season, end of the season, over 2.5 miles. Katira won this last year. A mare off a mark of 136. I mean, that wasn't why I looked at that race. I looked at that race, I thought that was a perfect race. Is there any other reasons? What did Katira win it off? Oh, 136. Oh, she's a mare. I was like, there's so many similarities to You Wear It Well. That's got to be where they go with You Wear It Well. Go for that handicap. Good prize money, 42 grand to win it. Yes, it's not a mare's race. It's more prize money than what you've been, aiming at. You would have won 17 at the weekend. I think what's the best she's ever won? She beat Lucia at Wetherby, winning 14. Interestingly, when she beat Lucia at Wetherby, off carrying 11 stone 3, she was giving £3 to Katira, who was back in third. Katira has demonstrated that form is good, has won the handicap of 136. Why can't You Wear It Well win it off 136? I really like her for that race. Really hope that Jamie Snowden aims You Wear It Well after a little break now that she's had the fall, but to come back and win a handicap at the end of the season. It hasn't quite gone to plan this season for her. She went to Bangor and Warwick over fences, and even Windsor over fences in mares events. Wasn't good enough for any of those, and wasn't good enough for the Lightning Novices Chase at Windsor. So now they've dropped her back to hurdles, and they've dropped her back into mares company. Now you might as well get a handicap and win a race with her. And then if you want to go again next season looking for black type win listed and graded events for mares, then you can. But go and get some prize money now with her. 42 grand to end the season would be would probably turn that season around a little bit. Next horse I want to talk about is another mare who came from the same race, and that is West Balboa, who was a little bit disappointing, only finishing 4th of 6 in that race. Rated 138, she's been dropped another £2 down to our mark of 136 as well. Now, I don't think that she wants 3 miles. I think she's a really good... No, I do think she wants 3 miles, sorry. I believe You Wear It Well could win over 2.5. West Balboa's got to go back up to 3. And this race here, the William Hill Handicap Hurdle, she finished 3rd in it last year, went off 11 to 4 favourite, off a mark of 141, a £5 higher mark. She probably went off favourite because she'd won it the year before, off a mark of 135, when sent off the 9 to 2 favourite. So off a £1 higher mark, she could return to this race at Aintree. I mean, she's got 1st and 3rd there. Her form actually at Aintree is 1st, 3rd. She beat Brewing Up a Storm as well over 2.5. It's all really good form. Surely that's where we'll see West Balboa now. No point going to Cheltenham. She's not a Cheltenham mare, but she's certainly an Aintree mare. This was her actually winning the year before. You can see she was very well selected in the Nap Comp. She was favourite. She was top rated. She had everything going for her. She can come back and go really close again, I feel, this year. Moving on to Navajo Indy, who we were on in the William Hill Hurdle at Newbury, formerly the Betfair Hurdle. And he ran a really eye-catching race, finishing 3rd. Just couldn't keep up. Couldn't keep up over 2 mile. They put the cheek pieces on probably to try and make sure he did. It didn't work. He can't keep up over 2 mile. But for me, that just screams Coral Cup. I think he's going to go to the Coral Cup with a massive chance. 2.5 mile. He keeps running well. He's running in the right races. Has form at Newbury, which I like to compare with Cheltenham. Has really good form at Newbury, to be fair. A 1st, 2nd, 1st and 3rd. Interestingly, she actually ran. He actually ran at Newbury in 2024, January 2024, getting £3 from Be Aware, and was 2.5 lengths behind. Now, Be Aware is currently rated 137 and is favourite for the Coral Cup. So would be, let me just try, was 3, would now be 8, £5 worse off with Navajo Indy for 2.5 lengths. And Navajo Indy actually went off a shorter price that day when they ran against each other. I mean, there's nothing between them at all for the Coral Cup. He will get in. And if we actually have a look, we can see that Be Aware is the favourite. Navajo Indy is a little bit further down than you would expect, to be honest. Where is he? Here he is. You can get 20s about him. You can get 20s about Navajo Indy. Be Aware's 9s and 10s, and yet I think there's not a lot between them at all. They got really close form lines, and Navajo Indy definitely wants to step up in trip. Be Aware probably does as well, but I think they should be a lot shorter in the betting. I would make Navajo Indy second favourite behind Be Aware, to be honest. It's all about whether that trip definitely suits him. The way he's been running, it certainly should. So he's an interesting one for the Coral Cup. Moving on to Panic Attack, another Dan Skelton horse who finished 2nd at Warwick, dropped back over hurdles after winning over fences and going up £10. They thought, let's take advantage of a hurdles mark. Nearly come off. It nearly paid off. Finished 2nd, got beat ahead of 125. Went up £1 for that. If Harry had given it a bit of a better ride, I think she would have won. She went so far wide round the outside. She gave away lengths. She gave away significantly more than her head. Should have won that. Would have gone up £5 or £6 for that. Might have even gone up more for that. More than that. Now, the connections have said that she's probably going to end up in the plate. Fine. But when she then runs in the plate, go back to Cheltenham, in April and take advantage of our handicap mark. Go for this race, a 2.5 handicap hurdle. It's 26 grand to win it. You'd only be running off 126. I think it would have a massive chance in that. Moving on to Go Dante. Dropped £3. No, if you read the handicap marks, the handicapper has dropped the horse £1 down to 127. However, at Newbury, the horse ran off a mark of 130, not 128. So it was running off a mark of 130, so it's effectively dropped £3, not the £1. With that in mind, what does that mean for Go Dante? Well, he ran a decent race in 7th, beaten 16 lengths. Not too bad. Dropped £3, and that actually means he's £2 lower than when winning the Imperial Cup last year. Got to go back, hasn't he? Got to go back for the Imperial Cup. And then go to Aintree and try and make amends at Aintree as well, where they got left at the start. I mean, if this is the time of year to catch this horse, ran okay at Newbury, go to Sandown, win there, go to Aintree and run a really big race, I'm sure, in the race they went so... It was so eye-catching last year. So yeah, Go Dante for the Imperial Cup. Be aware that last time out, it actually ran off 130, not 128. So although the handicap marks suggest he's dropped £1, he's actually dropped 3 from his last run. We move on to another down Skelton horse, to Milos, who last year they tried to get it handicapped for the Potemps final, and they did get it really nicely handicapped, down to a mark of 142, but it came into the race bang out of form. It had finished 13th of 16 in a handicap hurdle over 2 mile 3. It dropped £4 for that, he did. Turned up at Cheltenham and they might have gone, we'd just lost, the horse had lost all confidence. And that's why he disappointed at Cheltenham. This year, I wonder whether they've done something slightly different and almost gone back to the days when they first took over this horse from Tim Vaughan. When they first got Milos, they went to Bangor, won a 3 mile handicap chase, then went to the feature race, what was it called then? The Coral Gold Cup, formerly the Hennessy, and won that as well. So they won 2 consecutive races off a mark of 142 and 146. This season, they got the horse dropped significantly in the weights, went from 147 to 144 to 141 to 139. Now, last time out, over at Warwick was running off 139. And I think that was key, because it was low enough that they could win a race, go up in the handicap, and still not be above its last winning mark, so to speak, or you know, a higher mark than they could even dream of winning off. He's not going to win a race off 150. If he'd won, say, the race at Cheltenham at the beginning of the season, off 147, he would have gone up to 150, and then he would have struggled to come back down and might have ended up at the Cheltenham Festival off 145, but out of form. You know, having been beaten here, beaten there, and looked way out of form, and the horse may be lacking a bit of confidence, because they do gain confidence from winning races. This might be a very, very clever bit of planning from Dan Skelton to get it dropped and then to come back into Cheltenham in good form, rather than how it went last year, where they were in poor form, having been comfortably beaten at Ascot. He's going to step up in trip, off a mark of 143, still £3 lower than when winning a Hennessy, and go to the Ultima. He went off 9-2 for the Coral Gold Cup in 2022. Really like him for the Ultima now. Really like him for the Ultima. I think that 143 mark is not enough. 14s, 16s and 25s. I mean, if I was convinced that Dan was going to run him here, 25s is massive. I still think some of the other prices are decent. 16s, non-runner, no bet. Is that non-runner no bet there? It is, but a rubbish bookmaker. Live score bet. Who the hell are they? I think I'd be tempted to have a go on him at 25s, 25 to 1. And if we lose our money, we lose our money. If he runs, I honestly think he's going to take all of the beating. I think it's him and Broadway Boy that are going to be the main two. And yeah, if he turns up, Milos, for the Ultima, he doesn't go off 25s. He goes off 10s or shorter. I'd be really confident of that. When he's been put in races that he can actually win, he's never gone off that big a price, really. 3 to 1, 9 to 2, 10 to 11. He went off 12s for a national, 9 to 4, 6 to 1 for the Temps final last year, 9 to 1 at the beginning of the season, 12 to 1 at Newbury in the Sir Peter O'Sullivan when the plan was to get him dropped, 13 to 2 at Chepstow, and then finally, last May, went off 5 to 4 favourite. I mean, you've got to run him in the Ultima. I'm going to have a bet on him at 25s. I think that's too big. And if I lose my money because he doesn't run, then I lose my money. But if he does run, I'm going to be on a great price, I'm sure. Next I want to talk about is Angler's Crag, who dropped £1 for his effort last time out. I think the ride wasn't the best. I just feel they got their fractions a little bit wrong in terms of he was way out the back, not struggling, but being given a very patient ride, and then made rapid ground far too quickly. And I feel that cost him late on in the race. It just meant that he didn't have anything afterwards because he'd already used his effort to close up so quickly. I feel if they'd gone a little bit slower through the race, slowly moving forward, and had turned up at turning into the straight, still in third sort of thing, but slowly making ground, then he might have had more towards the finish. I just feel the way he was ridden was very aggressive with about a mile to go, and that was probably not the right tactics. However, it might have been, are we well handicapped? Can we go and win another race with him? And the fact that they got him dropped £1, that they might in hindsight go, that was perfect, absolutely perfect for us. Where does he go? I imagine he comes back for the Ida. He won it last year off a mark of 126. He would run off a mark of 130. I mean, he doesn't really want that really heavy going. He probably won it despite the heavy going last year. If he turns up at the end of the month on the in the Ida and it's soft, no worse than soft, I think Angler's Crag takes all of the beating again, to be honest, in the Ida chase. He only went off 11 to 2 last year for it, came into it in real red hot form, having won 3 consecutive races. He's only 10 to 1 this year for it, but I think that's where he's going to run on the 22nd of February. And I think a slightly more evenly planned race and ride from Henry Brook, and he can go really close in repeating his Ida Chase win from last year. We move on to one of our friends of the handicap analysis videos. It's Flegmatik. Last year they got it wrong. Coming into the Coral Trophy, having won a race at Kempton over 3 mile, they beat Chianti Classico. This year, I wonder whether they've got it spot on. They went over 2.5 at Kempton, travelled really well, thought he was going to win it, really worried. He went off the 2 to 1 favourite. He went off 2 to 1 favourite because he's so well handicapped now. He's down to a mark of, or he was down to a mark of 131. He's now down to 130. He's down to 130. He ran in this race last year, the Coral Trophy. He was 4th off a mark of 140, a £10 higher mark, beating 2.5 lengths. The year before that, I haven't loaded that one up. The year before that, he finished 2nd, beating a neck off a mark of 135. Remember, he's running off 130 now. I mean, he's got a massive chance there, isn't he? I haven't loaded the race up, so let me just quickly do that. Here it is. You can get Flegmatiks between 8s and 12s. I think 12 to 1 is a great price about him. I really do. Last year he went off 5 to... No, he didn't. He went off 15 to 2 last year. The year before that he went off 10s. He's better handicapped than both of those occasions. He ran well enough last time out to suggest that he's coming into form at the right time. And yeah, I thought it was a good run where they had their eyes on something else, didn't they? And that could well be surely it's returning for this race again. If they don't turn up and they left their race at Kempton in that 2.5, a race worth 11 grand to win it, and they've missed out on this one that's worth 85 grand. It is one of the worst bits of placement. I honestly think they've completely messed up with Flegmatik. If he doesn't come back to Kempton for that 3-mile handicap, their last couple of years, what they've done with him has been an absolute mess. Winning at Kempton before going to that race over 3 mile. What did they win when they beat Chianti Classico? 18 grand. Which definitely, in my opinion, cost them winning the 85 grand. And then if they don't come back because they went, well, it's too soon after that race at Kempton, they tried to win 11 grand instead of focusing on that 85. That would be bizarre. So surely he's going to come back here. 12 to 1 looks a good price for me. He'll go off shorter on the day. Sometimes I look at the handicap marks and I think, what is the handicapper doing? This is one of the most obvious plans all season. And unsurprisingly, it's another JP horse. I'd probably say 2 of the most obvious ones this year have been No Flies on Him and Crebilly, both owned by JP McManus. This one is clearly being planned and plotted to return to Cheltenham to try and win that plate. He went off 7 to 2 last year off a mark of 140. Finished second. After hearing that, you'll go, and if you said to me, what's he going to turn up off this year? I'd say it's definitely going to be higher. Even if it's, they've been clever, they might get him back to say 142, 141. He's 138. I've no idea what the handicapper's doing. Went to Kempton, never put in the race, never wanted to get involved, dropped £2 for that. The fact he went off 10 to 1 just screams like, well, he's not trying, is he? Why the handicapper has fallen for that and dropped him £2. I mean, you see some horses that don't get dropped or even go up for falling or running well and they go up £5. I mean, this is just a ridiculous one to drop Crebilly down to 138. I mean, yeah. He's going to be one of the gambles of the week, I think. Currently available at 12s. He goes off shorter than that. He went off 7 to 2 last year off a mark of 140. What price is he going to go off this year off a £2 lower mark, having clearly been laid out for the race? 7 to 2? 3 to 1? 5 to 2 maybe? You can get 12s about him. Go and have a bet on him at 12s. I think that's a great price. You'll at least have a significantly better price on the day when he runs. This was him finishing second, when things didn't go to plan as well. And finally, the last horse I want to talk about is Brave Kingdom, who the handicapper was very kind and dropped £3 for a very disappointing run at Uttoxeter. But it wasn't his running, was it? He was beaten far too early. If he, pulls up with 2 to jump, you might understand it. He pulled up with nearly a circuit to go. Clearly something wasn't right with the Nichols horses. A few of them ran disappointingly. They were expected to go well. I know Paul had actually said that he really liked Brave Kingdom and felt the horse was going to run a big race. Got really well supported. 12s were available when they first opened up. Went off 11 to 2. That was not his running. Dropped £3. Where do you go with him? Well, I think they might save him for this race. The William Hill Handicap Chase at Aintree. Over 3 mile. Good prize money. I feel he's a good, smart handicapper, Brave Kingdom. And he's just, it just hasn't worked recently. His third on his return was good. It didn't work last time. Maybe the flu jab was still in his system, and that's why he ran so poorly. Give him another chance, but make the most of it. Don't go and find a silly little race with him. He's 9. He hasn't got loads of time, and there's no point like running him in a race while winning 8 grand with him. What's the point? That's pointless. Go and target a feature race with him, Aintree could, you know, save, you know, skip Cheltenham. Don't even worry about Cheltenham. Go straight to Aintree. I think it would run really well there in this handicap chase at Aintree. So there's some handicap thoughts, handicap analysis. JP, the trends of the video are JP, Dan Skelton, well handicapped for Cheltenham. Not all together. Unfortunately, JP doesn't have a horse with Dan Skelton that he's got really well handicapped, because that would go off 1 to 2, because it would be so well handicapped. It'd be running off a £15 lower mark than when finishing a next second the year before. We don't have that, thankfully, because it would just ruin one of the handicaps. But I do think there's a few there that I'm really keen on for future handicaps. Milos, Flegmatik, Crebilly, no flies on him. Yeah, just a lot of them. West Balboa, you wear it well if that turns up in that 2.5 race. I think she would go really close there. There's so many from today's video that I'm really keen on.